Now, creationism. Now, it should be said, and unfortunately, the um, the atheists of YouTube, um, or of the internet, or in general, seem to think that creationism is believed by all of Christianity, or it has been believed by Christianity forever. Um, the Roman Catholic Church does not accept creationism. In fact, the Roman Catholic Church came up with the Big Bang. But I also would like to point out something that is just excessively obvious. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And it's God, capital G, lowercase o, lowercase d. And you see God create um, the world in 6 days, and he rests on the seventh, right? And keep in mind that these chapters and verses were added by the Germans in the late Middle Ages, so they weren't originally there. Chapter 2, verse 4. Comes right after the verse, then, 2, 3, which says, Then God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because in it he rested, and all his work which God had created and made. And beginning with verse 4, chapter 2. This is the account of the heaven and the earth, when they were created, in the day that the Lord God made the earth and heaven. And no shrub was on the field, uh, or had sprouted. For the Lord God, capital L, capital O, capital R, capital D. That is Yahweh. The first deity is El, or Elohim. The second one is Yahweh. There's two creation accounts. And yet, assholes like Dark Matter 2525, something as blatant as this, that you could crack a Protestant real easy with. I mean, they take no concern or care for an extremely important text of our culture. Well, maybe not for the white Anglo-Saxon Protestant culture, um, but people who aren't a bunch of self-hating whites who actually, like their culture, like Hispanics and Italians and Greeks and Arabs, Chinese people. Like we don't like to shit on our culture, and we have respect for our elders, and things like that. Uh, the Anglophone world doesn't seem to have this. By the way, if that sounds bigoted or racist or xenophobic, fuck off. But that's just two creation accounts right there. Not to mention that there's the Noah's flood story is two stories meshed together. I actually have a Bible where I actually highlighted out the J text from the P text. But we also have a creation account in Ben Sirach. Not to mention there's one in Jeremiah, but we have one in Jesus Ben Sirach. Of course, the Protestants don't have this. Oh wait, did I pass up Ben Sirach? Maybe I won't read it to you guys. But have you noticed that there's two creation narratives, and one, the deity is called just God, and the other is referring to deity as Yahweh continually? Usually when you see Lord God, it's Adonai Elohim. And why did it translate it Lord? Because it's the tetragram, it's in Yod He Vav He. is never pronounced. So when they get to that part, they would say Adonai. Now I believe the Jews say Hashem. But yeah, the there was actually an early church father. His name was Clement of Alexandria. Well, there were a few early church fathers, but he was the earliest. There's a few early church fathers, great, like considered great saints, that mocked the idea of taking creation literally. But it was in the stromata of Clement of Alexandria, who lived in the 100s. I mean, he lived in the 2nd century, and he was going after the Judaizers and the Gnostics, saying that a parable is literal, or something that's clearly literal is just, metaphorical. And he said, imagine if people were to do this with, the first part of Genesis. And he points out the moon, how can you have, the plant life before, and seasons before the moon and this and that. And the ancient church had copious amount of writings. People think, what did they think writing stopped after the New Testament? No, the Christians are writing constantly. Day meant epoch. It was only the Jews much later on, only 300 years ago, that tried to calculate the age of the earth as 6,000 years old. The church actually embraced Platonism, the Platonic view of the world. And I think there's multiple places within at least the Roman Catholic Church before, the rise of science and everything, where they're talking about the earth being, 2 million years old, or something like that. Oh yeah, also, the Bible does not say that the planet, there was a global flood. People are intentionally misunderstanding that, and they don't understand the hyperbole of the way Arabs speak, just like they don't understand 40. It rained for 40 days and 40 nights. That means many, a lot. 40 was their highest number at one point. So, if it's like saying it's 100 feet tall, or it's 1,000,000 feet tall, or there were 1,000,000 people there. Well, Semitic cultures, especially the ancient ones, you'd say there's 40 people there, even if there were 500, because 40 means the most, right? Just like a billion or a million mean the most, and it's probably only 10 people in a crowd, But whole Earths, the whole Earth, or cosmos, it really can be. I mean, General Han Solo did it the best, but there's been plenty of people on here that have been, no, there's no worldwide flood. Reflecting upon creation, why, this is in the Wisdom of Sirach. Why is one day better than another, when all the light of the day here is from the sun? When they were separated by the knowledge of the Lord, He changed the seasons and the feasts, and well, that's part of the creation. Creation account is back here, yeah, but I won't bore you with that. If you want to read the Wisdom of Ben Sirach, you can do it yourself. But global flood, no. The Bible doesn't teach that. 6,000-year-old planet, no. Day meant epoch, and you can see clearly, even the literalists have to say, well, in the day that the Lord created the earth, oh wait, that means epoch, because you just had 6 days. And we use day the same way. Back in the day, in his day, doesn't mean a single day. It means in his generation, and in the 60s, or back in the day, back in this decade, or back in this century. So stupid Protestants who are literalist fundamentalists, and then the anti-theists who are also literalist fundamentalists, but they don't believe in God. They've just gone one God less. They're still proselytizing illogical, pompous assholes like the fundamentalist Protestants that they were. They've just gone one God less. And they're still just like the proselytizing. I've seen people who, it's called, what is it called? Street something. It's basically it's proselytizing atheism. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard of.